Well, hello, friends, and welcome into Leading Off. I'm your host, Chris Welsh. Joining me today is Andrew Seifter on Twitter at Andrew_Seifter. And today we're going to be breaking down all the stuff that went down yesterday and how to prepare you for today. Mr. Andrew Seifter, what's going on, my friend? Final push? Any articles coming up that everybody needs to know about?
It's the waiver wire, man. Every Saturday that's coming out at FantasyPros. We got one more to go for that final week of the regular season. And I have to say, it's always a treat to get to join you on a Thursday because we do the Mondays a lot, but the Thursdays are always a special occasion.
Yeah, and I figured also it'd be good because I knew you had the article coming up. I couldn't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but this is a good time to do it since we're a couple days out. It's the final stretch. If there were any guys, and one of those guys that is probably going to show up in that article is a late call up. Every time I open my mouth, I continuously open my mouth the last month. I'm like, all right, so this is the last big prospect guy that's going to come up. There's not going to be any more. Doesn't make sense. We're not going to do it. Then another one comes up. I say the same thing, then another one. So really, I'm doing it out of luck. I'm doing it for everybody else to keep saying this. So I said it, and we got another one. And one of the top guys you might want to take a look at is Ezequiel Tovar from the Colorado Rockies. He's getting a call up to make his major league debut. Now, he may not be in the lineup today, as I believe he's traveling to get there. So the debut may be happening on Friday. And Tovar is really fascinating because Tovar's 21 years old. 21, 22. Let's see. Actually, I think he might have just turned 22. No, 21. Doesn't matter. But Tovar is fascinating because of the rise that he has had so far in his minor league career. He was in the Arizona Fall League last year from low A all the way up to making the majors. Now, he's missed significant time this year, which is why this move is really surprising. It's actually pretty shocking that I thought he was going to be an Arizona Fall League lock this year. He's under 300 minor league at-bats this season, but 14 homers, 17 stolen bases, a 319 batting average. His source of stolen bases, a little bit smaller, but he's really connected in with high power. Colorado's a great place to hit. He should theoretically get work this last week, which makes him a really fascinating waiver wire pickup for the final week. So any thoughts on Ezequiel Tovar, who's going to be making the debut? And like I said, should get, I would imagine, all the starts until the season ends.
Yeah, he'll not only be in that column, I'm guessing he'll probably be one of the headline names in that column because we're talking, like you said, a guy who's just been a real fast riser. I mean, he's now considered a top 40 prospect in baseball, the number one prospect in the Rockies system. And we know how it plays in that thin air. You want that, especially when you're going to get the stolen base potential as well. He's hit at every level. Like you said, it's limited plate appearances, but I mean, he put up a 300 batting average in single A last year, in double A this year, and then he came up for a brief cup of coffee in triple A and was actually doing even better. I mean, he only struck out in 8.7% of his triple A plate appearances. So he just looked ready. And, a team like the Rockies, why not get a little sneak peek at this guy and see if he's a guy that you maybe can feel comfortable going into next season with? Because we saw, with players like Michael Harris, they've come right in and been comfortable at the major league level. And if you see something like that, that's really actionable intelligence that you can get in this last week or two of a season where you're rebuilding. So I think it makes sense for the Rockies. And I think that it makes sense for fantasy managers to take a shot on the upside.
I feel very confident that he'll play. Maybe there's one game missed, but he should play the whole way through because of the amount of time he missed. There's no reason for them to not let him get a full run. He needs it back. So I'm assuming he's not going to the Fall League because he's probably going to play in Dominican Winter League. And I also think that you're probably going to be seeing a situation where they're bringing him up, they're getting him all these at-bats, and he might be a guy that breaks roster next season so they can vie for that extra pick spot, because this is a guy that hits for high contact. He's got sneaky power, though. I personally will be surprised if it's anything more. I'll be surprised if it's 20, to be honest with you, but I'll be surprised if it's over 20. But he's going to put in stolen bases. He's going to hit for high contact, and he's a guy I think that this team has kind of lacked. All these prospects they've had in the middle infield, none have really worked. And this is a guy that they could break camp with next year, and they could potentially get an extra pick out of it. So I think all of those things combined make sense why Tovar is going to be a really good pickup for this final week or 4 days, like Bizarriza said, whatever it is you've got left for fantasy baseball. And I will point out, he is a yard goat, Tovar is. Maybe one of my probably top 5 favorite logos as far as minor league. I want that hat. Something I don't do, my wife would kill me, especially if I bought them, wink, wink, is that I want to get a collection of really good minor league hats, and probably the Yard Goats would be in the top 5 list of ones I'd like to wear. It's a good purple. The goat, it's biting a bat. Who doesn't want a goat on their hat, Andrew?
I'm pulling that up right now. Just take a little look at it. You're right. That is
Pretty
some
great
nice
logo.
stuff there. It's also just hilarious that the Rockies have a farm team in Hartford, Connecticut. But
Yeah, it's exactly. I would also say the Hillsboro Hops, for obvious reasons, for the Diamondbacks would be another very good logo of hats. But go and pick up Ezekiel Tovar if he's sitting out there because he'll get playing time. Blake Snell struck out a season high 13 batters, going 7 innings. And get some shutout ball on Wednesday as they beat the Cardinals 1-0, stifling the Pujols hopes at least for one more day as we get closer. We're now into, God, what are we like? 8 days, 9 days left for Pujols to get 2 more homers. We're getting down to the stretch. I said, I got this really bad feeling we're going to sit at 699, but we still got just enough days, Andrew.
I think it's going to be a 2-homer day that puts him over the top. That's my prediction.
Yeah, well, I might mention him a little bit later today. James Caprillion on point on Wednesday, a 2-1 win over the Mariners, went 7 innings, 2 hits, shutout ball. Caprillion is so fascinating. Not that any of you guys care, but like Caprillion is the first guy I saw when I really made a concerted effort to going to the Arizona Fall League in 2016 was when I like made sure every year I'm there. And he was with the New York Yankees. And I remember he had 1 solid inning and he was coming back off of injury, and then he gave up a leadoff homer in the second inning to Mauricio Dubon, who was at the Red Sox at that time and now I believe with the Giants still. And I always think about that. But Caprillion has been one of those guys I thought was going to move into the bullpen just based off of injury issues and whatnot. But he's been a very serviceable starter and one of those streaming guys, probably going to have, looks like maybe 1 more start. Your trust on Caprillion rest of the way? This last start, I guess?
I mean, I know you've got your personal connection to him, but I'm not going there with him. I'm sorry. His strikeout to walk rate is really poor, and the bar is high to be fantasy viable as a starter for Oakland anyway, if you're in a league that you need wins. So I think I'll take the pass. I could probably find better streamers I like.
Yeah, no, you 100% can. Yeah, you can. Tristan McKenzie held the White Sox to 2 runs over 8 innings, struck out 13. The Guardians won 8-2 on Wednesday. Tristan McKenzie continues the consistency of why we are going to probably be buying in heavier than I think we think next season on him.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of like one of those underrated, under the radar breakouts. I don't know if it's because he's doing it in Cleveland. That whole team is sort of surprising that they're in such strong playoff positioning right now. I don't think many people saw that coming this year. But the thing that with McKenzie, I mean, he's such a tall, lanky guy. And for a while, it looked like he had to sort out his mechanics a little bit. But the thing you really saw this year is the walk rate just cut in half. I mean, last year, 4.35 walks per 9. This year, 2.15. So even though his strikeout rate's down a little bit, you'll gladly take that trade-off for fantasy because it goes without saying, like, first rule, don't harm yourself. And if you don't put those free passes on, it allows you a lot more room for error with BABIP and things like that. So I believe in what he's doing. I mean, his peripherals are still a little worse than his surface numbers, but he's a legitimate fantasy pitcher.
If you're looking at why did this go to last year? That's super odd. That's not correct. This is so weird. Fangraphs, they're like he pitched 150 innings in the first half. There we go. Now it cleaned itself up. In the first half, McKenzie over 100 innings at a 3.2 ERA, which is very nice. And this was 101 innings, striking out 96, holding batters to an under 199 average. In the second half, he's sporting a 2.85 ERA, 84 strikeouts over 79 innings. The walks have cut down as well, only 16. And the last 3 months have been phenomenal for him. Let me pull this up. He's had I think it was a 1.34 as this is reloading here. In the month of July, he had a 1.34 ERA over 5 starts. Last month in August, a 3.03 ERA over 6 starts. And this month so far, got a 2.29 ERA with 18. That's not correct on how much it's counted here. But he's had, I'm trying to do the math real quick, 21. That would be 31 strikeouts over the last 4 starts that he's had. He's going to be one of those guys that I think he's probably going to be right outside the top 100 as far as overall goes, and he's going to be a major target. So don't
Yeah,
even
I
get
mean,
crazy into it.
you raise an interesting point because his strikeout rate for the season is essentially a batter per inning, which is fine. But he's had these games. I mean, he struck out 13 in his last start. He had a start in mid-August where he struck out 14. Now, both of those starts were against the White Sox, so maybe he just has the White Sox number. I don't know, but I mean, there's no doubt he's pitching terrifically. He really hasn't had a subpar start since very beginning of August. So we're
Yeah.
now talking 2 months worth of just great starts in a row. So
Yeah.
keep riding that.
Bizarreta said, guy I'm facing in the finals had McKenzie. I'm grateful Snell matched him. So you had to match him.
I dropped Snell in a league last week because I was in such strong positioning and I was running out of innings. And I saw his final 2 matchups were tough. So I just said, I'll let someone else have him for the last 2 weeks. And then I missed out on that Cardinals start.
Madison Bumgarner allowed 1 run over 6 innings on Wednesday in a 6-1 win over the Dodgers. Diamondbacks stealing a couple wins there. Jordan Lyles allowed 1 run on Wednesday in a complete game victory over the Tigers. And over on the fun fact side, this is from it's my boy Yancey. Shout out to Yancey Eaton. Jordan Lyles, this is his tweet, has more wins than Corbin Burns, Nestor Cortez, Christian Javier, Joe Musgrove, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, and Aaron Nola. That's kind of a fun fact. Jordan Lyles, one of those sneaky streamers that has been out there the whole time, and a complete gamer is going to do some wonders for your little last bit of whether it's playoffs or roto, Andrew.
Yeah, well, that's a fun stat. I think that stat right there kind of says a few things. One, it reminds us how fickle wins are. 2, it reminds us of how surprisingly solid the Orioles have been this season. And 3, it's a reminder that a lot of those guys have missed a little bit of time this year with injuries. So that's a factor as well. But that was a fun stat to see, no doubt.
Don't you dare start the wins, the fickle wins conversation of quality starts. Then we're going to go into chaos. The chat's going to go into chaos and eat each other alive if we
I
start
don't propose
talking about wins.
I don't propose a solution. I just think we all have to learn to live with it and accept it.
I am so the same on that. I'm actually so utterly tired of the down talking of wins throughout the whole preseason of draft preparation. We're like, oh, they need to end and it's win. And it's just it is what it is. That is fantasy. Maybe someday the norm will change. The norms change. Fantasy football, the norms change from standard non-catching formats to PPR now being the standard. Superflex is an option that's coming up. Baseball has accepted a whole lot more of quality starts in OBP, but for it to be the standard, it just is what it is. I actually don't mind wins.
No.
The thing I think you get, and I pick on roto people a little bit, even though I play probably more roto than head to head now, is the perfection. Everybody needs it perfected. It's I play till the very end, and my entire season as a whole is calculated. I don't mind variance in my fantasy sports. That's why I like playoffs. That's why I'm okay with wins where a guy has a great start and doesn't get a win, because I don't need everything. I don't need this to equal this at all times. The fun for me is the chaos that real baseball has. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, fantasy sports is a mix of skill and luck. No matter how you do it, it is. And some pieces of it are more skill. Some pieces of it are more luck. Fantasy baseball as a whole is more skill. It's more skill than fantasy football. It requires effort too, all season long. So if you're the best in your league, you might have bad win luck and you can still win your league, So, and I also feel like there's this aspect that people sometimes don't think about, which is the fun of fantasy sports of watching the games, because the thing about a win is that's always on that can go either way, right up till the 9th inning. So that's something where you can watch the game even after your pitcher's out of the game. If you really need that win, you're sweating it out to see if they can get it. It's sort of like people talk about field goals in football, same kind of thing. It's fun to watch. It's fun to root for when you're watching the game. So that's something too.
And wonky. I love the first line here. I love the randomness of wins. Me too. I actually don't. Saves is another thing. I'm not someone that's a proponent of being we should have saves plus holds. I'm okay with absolute chaos and randomness in fantasy sports. And if somebody also wanted to be hey, I'm going to have a league that has quality starts because wins are fickle. Cool. That's great. But, wins are still wins. Wins are still out there, and it's something that we consider. Last couple pieces of news here. Jared Kelenic on his way back as he was recalled from AAA Tacoma. My God, if you followed the news about a month ago, Jared Kelenic went on his social media and deleted everything he had in reference to the Mariners, which doesn't seem too great. He does get the call back in AAA so far this year. 18 homers, 9 stolen bases, not too shabby. Did hit 295, cut a strikeout rate from his major league rate of around 28% last season. This year was 38%. Cut it down to 20. That's still higher, though, than almost every other. I don't want to say every single, but with the Mariners, there's only one time he had a higher strikeout rate in the minor leagues, and that was at High A in 2019 when he moved 3 levels. He had a 25.8% strikeout rate. 20.8 is the second highest Mariners K percentage he's had in the minors, which is still concerning. So I don't want to, like, you look and see the majors, he had a 38% strikeout rate and he cuts it down to 20 in the minors. It doesn't make me still feel great because it's still one of the highest ones, but he did connect with a lot of long balls. He stole some bases, kept his average up around 290. We'll see if it translates. It feels very much Joe Adelish, where it's like you hit between 270 and 290 in the minors, you come back, you still can't hit a high fastball, you still are trying to sit on off-speed stuff, which kills the fastball, and then you try to cheat on the high end and you get beat low. Let's see if Jared Kelenic does it. I have zero hopes for it, but if you could get a couple days of some positive returns, maybe we can take it into the offseason, but it'll be all but nothing, I'm going to guess, for everybody moving into next year, including you, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, right now I hate to say it, but he has all the markings of a quad A player at the moment. I mean, a guy that can succeed in AAA, but cannot succeed in the majors, whether it's a confidence issue or what. We've seen enough struggles. You know, I feel like when Eric Cross was willing to like give up the ghost on Kelenic, it was like giving all the rest of us permission to do that too, because it's just been so disappointing. And
me and Eric went at it like that. That was a tough thing. We all have those guys. We all have those.
Oh,
guys.
totally. And he gets so much right. I don't mean it as criticism at
Oh,
all.
no. I mean, me and Eric, I'm great friends with Eric, and we always talk about it, but I give him crap about it because, you know, there was this huge debate of going on for years. I was Julio over Kelenic when it wasn't popular to do. I'm making this about me. But also there were the Kelenic versus Wander, which is really not a great winner right now, but it's still clearly Wander. But that's a tough one. But I know what you're saying. It's like you could have people, myself, others that have been anti-Kelenic, but as soon as like Eric let that go, that was like the last passenger. That was the ship captain. The captain couldn't go down with the ship at the very end. Everybody was off the boat and he finally got off. And then it was permission to be like, oh yeah, quad A.
And that's like, honestly, that's one of the most important things in fantasy sports is to not get locked in your takes. And when things change on the field, you learn new information every day in this game, and you have to factor that in. And eventually the tipping point is reached. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the future, we see Jared Kelenic have a great season out of nowhere when he's 27, 28 years old and he's on his third franchise or something.
Yeah, we'll be with the Mariners, though.
You know, like that seems like that's going to happen at some point. But in the short term, it's just really hard to be optimistic that this is the time where he's suddenly going to figure it out.
Yeah, and Bizzer, you are right. It is always about the Welsh. That's right. I will point out, I very, very much believe Jared Kelenic will be traded this offseason. I think he'll have a new home. I think the Mariners are going to move on, don't want distractions. I don't think there's a place for him, and I think they will find a situation where they can just do an even swap, probably a pitcher that needs a new home for a hitter that needs some destination. And unfortunately, Jared Kelenic is trending more in the Clint Frazier territory than anybody else. Also, a little piece, Stephen Vogt is announcing that he's retiring at the conclusion of the year. Stephen Vogt, just a fun player, played with the Diamondbacks.
He's got great cheer. I believe in Stephen Vogt. I don't know if you ever heard that before. They get that going in the crowd.
Yeah, and he's just a great dude, too. Not much on the injury front, though. Adam Wainwright acknowledged on Tuesday that he's battling some arm fatigue, so I don't know if they're going to do anything and maybe push that last start off, or if they, I mean, even if they don't, I'm probably going to shy away. Hearing arm fatigue on the back end of the season doesn't really make me feel too good.
Yeah, I'm suffering from arm fatigue too, from all the typing, all the articles I've been writing. It's tough.
Yeah, exactly. I got the finger fatigue. I had the glove on earlier, getting like arthritis from all the clicking I've got. On the stat heroes from yesterday, Gleyber Torres had a 2-homer day, 5 RBI, 3 for 4 with 4 runs. That's going to help you. Oswaldo Cabrera. Cabrera had a homer with 5 RBIs for the Yankees. He's been quite nice in his little run. Steven Kwan, who has really quietly and secretly reestablished himself when he had that great first big start to the year, and then he really tapered down. Where were the counting stats? All of a sudden, they've just come back in droves. And I think I was just looking him up. I want to confirm it before I say it, because yesterday he went out and he had a combo meal day, homer with a stolen base. He was 3 for 5. And I questioned where the counting stats were. Now up to 17 stolen bases, hitting about 300, a higher walk percentage and K percentage. 5 homers is still not much. He's got 80 runs and 17 stolen bases. Here's what I'd tell you. The homers and RBI you really want. That's a big category, but it's the most easy replaceable one. He's actually gone from a 1 category player to a 3 category player. If you get 20 stolen bases, if you get 90 runs and a 300 batting average, that's a serviceable player that he wasn't and didn't seem like he was before, which I'm very impressed with him going into next year, because I was out for, I just don't care about a guy who's a high batting average. But now that you put 3 categories on the table, we can make do with the other 2. He's not an albatross. And that's what I really like about Quan. He's been impressive this year.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. The stolen bases are so key. And then also just the fact that team has been scoring a lot of runs, and he's been scoring a lot of runs in that lineup. So those 2 things have really made him more interesting. And, I still feel like the margin for error is small when you don't hit for power. You need those steals. Like, it's critical that he gets them to have the fantasy value. But I would also point out that he gets a little bit of a boost in a points league where, he's got double-digit walk rate year in and year out. So that helps as well with his value.
Very true. Kyle Stowers for the Orioles hit a homer, 3 RBI. Martin Maldonado had a home run. Nick Fortes, Joey Meneses, both had homers. Matt Vierling was 5 for 5, and Willie Adames, one of the quietest 30 home run seasons that a guy has put together, had a homer yesterday, going 1 for 2. Joey Meneses also continuing his push for dynasty relevance and back end of league drafting next season. On the pitcher side, Blake Snell, we mentioned, struck out 13 over 7. Jordan Lyles went the full game. Caprillion had those 6 strikeouts. McKenzie struck out 13. And Jesus Luzardo, 6 2/3 with 11 Ks. That Marlins lineup putting out, some decent pitchers that we can value into next year. On the zeros, a couple rookies, J.J. Bleday and Josh Young, both 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Some 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. Chris Morrell, Manny Machado, Tommy Pham, and Paul DeYoung, and 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Andrus, Michael Massey, and Victor Robles. On the pitching side, Dustin May got lit a little bit. 5 earned runs over 4 innings, gave up 7 hits. Roansy Contreras, he struck out 10, but he gave up 6 earned runs. And Lance Lynn went 6, but gave up 9 hits, only struck out 3 earned runs. That's not really a stat 0. It's a quality start. He got a quality start. It just wasn't very Lynnish, if you will. Any of those guys jump out to you? Roansy, May, any of the strikeout guys? I kind of burned through those.
Yeah, I mean, I just sort of watch it through my own leagues at this point in the season. I have Lance Lynn, so he got off to a rough start in that game. It looked like it was going to be disastrous, but he kind of settled in, and a lot of hits, but it certainly doesn't kill you, the numbers he put up. And then Roansy Contreras and Dustin May, I love those guys longer term, but they're young pitchers and there's going to be ups and downs.
So the home run call, which, by the way, reminder to let everybody know, one of these guys or gals is going to be winning a signed Fernando Tatis Jr. jersey, whoever gets the home run call correct. Well, I picked Mookie Betts yesterday, and quite a few other people did, and that changed the scope of the board. By the way, not that I really want it, but can I get a heat check? I have no idea where my homers are. I'm probably in the 30s. I'm not going to be on the board. I did get a double home run call yesterday for my Mookie Betts, but I have a feeling I'm at like 35 or 36, which is just not great because it's not on the board. But I'm just curious, wonky, or if anybody knows what my home run total is. But Mookie Betts changed the board yesterday because now we are tied at the top. Elskell and Cat Fox are both sitting at 55. Elskell had Mookie Betts, which was a ding. Cat Fox had Kyle Schwarber, which was a... And right up on their heels, Helpless in Miami is at 54. So 3 people within 1 homer with like a little over a week to go. We also had High Cubby at 52 and D-Blum at 50. So 5 people at the 50 homer mark here is quite a little bit. So, okay, so Wonky updated. I feel actually not too bad about that. Wonky and I are both at 38. That's not too far from making the board. If we had a nice little run, there we go. Oh, Wonky has 39, boo. But I have 38. Wonky, you and I could make a nice little run and maybe make the board by the end of the year. That's not too shabby. But there you go. That's the home run stuff. We'll continue to update, and that should be pretty exciting. Over by our friends over at BetMGM. They want to hook you guys up right now with a $1,000 risk-free bet. All you first-timers, just go on over, download the app, use the promo code leading off, and get hooked up. the crown will be back next week. I'm taking a week off of the crown. I think we used too much crown tiara that I think the luster went away. So I'm make you guys work for it here. Crown will be back. The tiara will be back. And hopefully you will as well. Leading off promo code over at BetMGM. Make all your great bets and do it today. Andrew, I've got a couple here for you. As always, using BetMGM's MLB prop cheat sheet. We've got some of the top plays and then the number one money plays, however you want to do it. On the total base side, Rowdy Tellez is the number one total base play. It's minus 164 at BetMGM. You only need one today up against Cincinnati and Hunter Green. The number one plus play is in the same game on the other side with Jose Barrero. You just need one total base, but it pays plus 125 on DK. On the pitching side, maybe a little bit better here. Justin Verlander is the number one pitching play over in Unibet, minus 132 for 6 strikeouts. He's projected at 7 against Baltimore. And Jose Barrios is the number one plus money play, projected at 5. The number is 4.5. You get 110, plus 110 over on DK. And do you like either one of those plays? The hitting ones, I think, are a little bit sus.
Yeah.
The Verlander one jumps out to me.
Yeah, I agree. I hate to just pick the best player, but I also think it's the best bet. I mean, minus 132 is not extreme, and that just seems like an easy number for Verlander to get over there. So, Barrios has not been striking out many guys at all lately. So I don't have a lot of faith in him to get over that 4.5 number.
I like that Verlander one, but our own Dr. Glenn says Rowdy going yard tonight, and also lock it in. So Dr. Glenn, you go lock that bet in over on, what was that? That was on BetMGM. You can use the promo code leading off if you already are not. All you need is that one total base, my friend. It's a little juiced up, but if you put enough on it, it'll make sense. Over on the DFS side, couple plays over on FanDuel. Justin Verlander's at 11.1. Shane Bieber at 10.8, and George Kirby today I think is kind of sneaky at 9.3. Stacking looks really difficult right now as far as the matchups go today, but I kind of honed in on maybe Seattle and Toronto. If you can get some of the top-end bats there, maybe you can stack that if that's what you want to do. Over on the home run contest today, there's no extra bonus, but Andrew Seifert, I'm going to let you go first. Who do you have on your home run call for today? I think you've done pretty good. I don't know what your percentage is on the year, but I feel like you've done pretty good at this.
I've hit a couple out of the park. Yeah. Not as many at bats as the rest of you, but
no. But your percentage, I think your home run to fly ball is looking pretty good.
Yeah. Well, am I allowed to have the same player as Wonky? Because that's what I was planning to do. And I see Wonky has Jordan Alvarez as well. And that's who I want to go with against Kyle Bradish. I feel like it's a good matchup. Alvarez has only faced him 3 times, but I just think it's always a good bet to bet on Alvarez, especially when he's facing questionable pitching.
I feel, even though, I do want to point out I have 38. I'm not too upset about my number, even though I know I'm not at the top of the list, but 30 ain't too bad. 38 ain't too bad because it's very close to the list. So I probably should really hone in if I want to get into the 40s, but just going to do it. I had a feeling on Judge on the 60, and I forgot to mention on this show, but I told you guys the next day that they had the bonus over on DraftKings, and I took it where you got the plus 60% bonus to make the bet he'd hit it. I did. I'm going to say, even though the lineup, I probably should look as I'm doing this because I have a backup. I went to look before the show started. The lineups were not out. It's still not out, but I am going to go with Albert Pujols at number 699. Happening today against Joe Musgrove, who he does, I think, have a career homer on, decent batting average. I'm going to go with some big conversation piece and give me some Albert Pujols. If he is not in the starting lineup, my pivot is Julio Rodriguez. I'm going on complete opposite ends of age. Pujols could be his dad at this point. So I'm going with Julio if Pujols is not in the lineup. So mark that down for everybody. And as you said, Wonky has got Alvarez. Joe, of course, has Aaron Judge. And I don't see anything from Mayer yet, but he'll put his home run in the Discord. If you guys are there, we have a home run room. You literally can go in, do hashtag home run / and your player, and it is tracked. It's really cool. It's one of the many, many cool things that they've got over on the Discord. So make sure you go and check it out and sign up on the premium. Mr. Andrew Seifert, you got the article coming up on Saturday. Anything else on the baseball front, or just waiting for the ship?
Just waiting for the ship, really, at this point. And I'm always happy to answer anyone's questions on Twitter. So at Andrew_Seifert, if you have any last minute lineup questions or, waiver wire concerns, please do reach out. Happy to answer all those questions.
Great stuff. Follow me on Twitter at @IsItTheWells. You guys know the deal. Prospect One coming up this week talking about the Arizona Fall League. I have been trying to get out to instructional games, but it's been raining here. Might get out today to one of them. We'll see. And I'll be sharing all that stuff over on my Twitter. Or we've got a Patreon for In This League where I've got a special group me room where I share some extra stuff that I don't put out there, like even goofy stuff. I actually saw a couple baseball players at the grocery store the other day, a couple big name prospects, and I shared that. It's goofy. It's Welsh in the bushes searching for the prospects. That's what it is.
Were they eating SpaghettiOs? Or?
No, they were shopping. It's a very, very big name Texas Ranger prospect that I saw shopping, if you can put those together on who might be out here. But that is it, friends. That is for the show. We will be back tomorrow. Chris Clegg is in the house, and I believe next week, Andrew, is our last show, you and I together on Tuesday.
I know, I'm tearing up.
Yeah, I got to talk to them, but I'm pretty sure next Friday is the final show of Leading Off. So everybody prepare for that. We've got one more Thursday. There's one more Thursday show left and 2 Fridays. So we're getting down to the countdown. So make sure you guys are hanging out with us tomorrow. It's Chris Clegg and me. But for Andrew Seifter, I'm Chris Welsh. Talk to you again tomorrow, friends. Peanuts or Cracker Jacks. Later.
Bye.